in the county of Mombasa and what essentially this means. In studio, I still have Duncan Okach, Nelson Harvey, both are advocates, and I also have Alfaya Gufana, Chairman, National Agenda Party, in studio with me. Harvey, let me start with you. What are your thoughts about your learned friend and his prospects in Mombasa? I know you're a legal man, but let me pick your political beat as well.
Senator Omar has excelled with distinction as a senator. I think he has a very good future in the development of his career as a politician. But I think for now, the political environment and the cost really tilts in favor of the Sultan.
Why?
Look, the Sultan appears to have really permitted the ground. And if you are to weigh in and see the population that goes around Sultan, both in theory and in practice, he has a very big following. And I think the events that have permitted the politics in Mombasa lately tend to point the Sultan as a victim. And more often than not, it is perceived that Senator Omar is the beneficiary of this aggression. So to that extent, I still believe Governor Joho has a big chance. In fact, it's highly doubtful that Senator Omar will get more than 30% of the votes.
Wow, 30%. Alpha, you're a political mind. What do you think?
So many things come to my mind, but the most important one is that democracy is quite interesting. And especially in our scenario, you assume that you are talking to people who are well informed, then Hassan will go somewhere. Maybe they will give him a hearing. But given the culture, our political culture, you don't go and read that kind of a manifesto and think that you are going somewhere. You should come and learn from Peter Kenneth.
What's wrong with that manifesto?
You should come and read from Peter Kenneth versus Sonko. And that's why I agree with my brother Harvey that the way the Sultan has sold his image, he already has sold himself to the soul of the people. People know that he is already fighting a different type of war. He's no longer talking about the manifesto, what I'm going to do for you and what you can do for you. We are fighting a bigger war. Yeah, I personally believe that all said and done on the balance of things, Joe has tried, and I think he deserves a second term. He's very bold. The two of them are very good. They are very young. And therefore, also we are happy. There must be vibrant multipartism, and so competition is good. But all said and done, that's all. Otherwise, I think the Sultan is already won.
Duncan?
I tend to agree with my colleague panelists. And you just look at Mombasa politics, and you notice that ODM as a party has always, over the years, taken the day. And they have a way that they sway the masses there. If you look at it, that's how actually, why Hassan Omar, in the first instance, actually even wanted to vie on an ODM ticket. But because of now the union that they had, and in terms of a senatorship, he actually had this way. However, you look at now the battle of governorship, it will have been a very good idea for Hassan Omar to say that I will wait for 5 years. After 5 years, I want to be the successor of Joho. It would have actually worked because he only has another 5 years and is out. And he would have been an unstoppable force. However, when he comes in and he has to fight his own brother to actually get this particular seat, it augurs bad on him because of, one, the political aspects whereby Jubilee has been taunting and actually harassing Governor Joho. Therefore, sympathy votes automatically, and that is what people have learned from history, will actually flow to Joho. Not that he's a very good candidate, not that he's better than Hassan Omar, but these people always want to say that, no, this is our person. When it comes to this person, we will protect him. Just because of that, he will actually have an upper hand as compared to the senator.
Okay. Good to hear your thoughts. Let's go back to our conversation on Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Nelson Harvey, who dropped the ball in terms of looking at the integrity of the candidates, some of the candidates that have been nominated? Because they're having this conversation and saying, surely this should have been stopped at some point, where you have people with questionable character. Is it the IEBC? Is it the political parties? Who dropped the ball?
I think in all fairness, the final responsibility of determining suitability of a candidate to run for office should, in all practical purposes, be a courtroom. And they are...
courtroom?
It's a courtroom.
Okay.
Yes, it should be a judge to make this determination. And there are good examples for this. You remember like the famous case of Matemo Momo, when he was appointed as chair of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. This issue was litigated through court, and it's quite unfortunate that by the time he was hounded out of office, it had not been determined by the Supreme Court. But the courts below had given an indicator as to the yardsticks upon which a candidate for appointment into an office, not elective office, should aspire to. And then also you look at the case of Waitito. At one point in time, he had been appointed for an administrative office. And then the matter again went to court. Now, with that background, it becomes quite clear why, in all fairness, all these governmental bodies that seem to perceive that they have the power to vet candidates should not do so. And let's look at a more recent example. You remember during the recruitment of Supreme Court judges, the Chief Justice and the Deputy Chief Justice, many were locked out of the threshold entry on account of failure to obtain a clearance certificate from a KRA, on account of failure to get clearance from Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, on account of failure to get clearance from HELB. But the court said those are not considerations upon which you should measure the threshold entry for any particular candidate.
Yeah,
and it's for this reason, therefore, that I believe, and bearing in mind the manner in which there is a perception with legitimate fear that some of these offices may be misused, I do not think an office like the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission will be an office that I'll want to subject myself to vet me for political office. You cannot expect a fair assessment.
Really?
Yes.
Alfaya, what are your thoughts? What is the role of political parties, IEBC here?
I would say like this. I think your first question was better, where who actually dropped the ball.
Who dropped the ball?
Yeah. And I think it is all of us, because we are quite passive.
Alfaya, be specific.
We are quite passive as Kenyans. The constitution, the new constitution we got, actually requires an active citizen. Because when we are talking about corruption or unethical issues, they are not occurring at the national level alone. When we devolved responsibilities to the counties, there is no better example of how people have misused public resources like the people at the county level. We need to heighten the knowledge and awareness of the citizens to be active. And you require, the Constitution provides for public participation. When they advertise and say that we are doing this budgetary process, we are calling you, come and see, can you follow up? Can the Kenyan citizens be able to follow up and say, we budgeted and agreed to spend so much on this. Can we do a social audit as to how these resources were expended? If, again, we are, as they say, the price of democracy is eternal vigilance. And when we come at the institutional level, as I said, the legal structures that put up all these institutions was actually crafted in a manner that actually the institution should not succeed. So like when my brother cites scenarios where, because the court can only be able to apply justice based on the written law. But if the law by itself is faulty, then that can't work. But I think, again, as I keep on saying, if we had values and virtues, meaning from the onset in our own families, as family, as an institution, if we are able to teach our children values and virtues, then we are able to at least be able to set up better standards for
Okay,
our
listen,
country.
it wouldn't be fair if we end this conversation without asking these questions. And then Duncan, allow me to pose this to you. So what if you go through this entire process and then there are some aspirants who are actually locked out? Where does that leave the whole process? You're basically barely like 3 months to go to the general election. What happens?
If applicants are actually locked out, then it will actually be a disservice to them, because there's a point after which things cannot be reversed. Because, IEBC must also continue. They must also publish. And in actual sense, how the ballots are being published is that information must be provided, I think, 4 months too, such that if we reach that particular point, then they look at the bigger evil. There's the interest of the entire populace as compared to an individual. The courts will always uphold for the entire populace. But just in a parting shot, I will disagree with all my two panelists in the fact that Kenyans you cannot blame Kenyans. Kenyans, by actually coming up with the new constitution and chapter 6, were very specific about that, so that we are the ones who have watered it down, especially the political class and even the courts themselves. The moment this matter went to court, when we were when the president and the deputy were vying last time, the courts actually shied away from actually saying that they do not meet the threshold. The moment that cut, actually we are doomed, I don't know for how many years to come.
Okay. Duncan Okach, Nelson Harvey, Alfaya Gufana, gentlemen, thank you so much for speaking to us on News Center and for your time. Hope we can have this conversation some other time, because trust me, we've just begun. This is a conversation that can't end now. You're watching News Center. Thank you for staying with us.